A stop work order remains in place at the Weehawken Cemetery in North Bergen, as a separate state board also investigates. It was last month, when many loved ones were stunned to learn, a section of the cemetery with graves over a century old were destroyed, along with many trees that were perhaps even older, all reportedly done for a renovation. Families tell Darius News that cemetery officials are mistaken if they think there are not loved ones around who care about the final resting place of their descendants. For example, Chip Renner from Paramus. He says that as a boy, he would visit this cemetery with his grandmother to pay respects to her family.
This is my great-great-grandfather. His name was Emil Schneider. He actually ran one of the largest hardware stores in Hudson County. He actually owned 3 of them back in the day. He lost them all during the Depression. But he took over his father's hardware store. His name was Emil, and his father was Frederick Schneider. Came over from Germany in 1822 and started a store on Canal Street in New York. Then he moved it to Hudson County. Eventually had, like I say, three hardware stores called Big Schneider's Hardware. But unfortunately, they never got through the Depression. They were all lost, and that was the end of that. And then I also have his other families here. His son, who died in 1916, is buried here, and also his another one of his brothers. So,
Renner says he found one damaged gravestone and another missing.
There was a little headstone that used to be here. It just had the initials of my 3 times great-grandfather. So it was just Frederick Schneider. Yeah, it used to be right over in this area, but I don't see it at all anymore. So I'm not sure if it's underneath the leaves or got taken away, or who knows. I'm not sure.
As with other families, Renner says it should have been handled with care and respect.
And if they're going to take down the trees here, they should be doing it carefully. I know it probably saved them a lot of money by just dropping the trees. You know, to have a tree company come in and take the trees down carefully, it would probably cost 10 times what it cost them to just drop them on top of the cemetery stones. So, it seems a shame that they would go that route. You know, it had been all about money, in my opinion.
What about other families? What about Charles? And Stober's loved ones? Who was Anna? And Giuseppe? And Louise and John? Were they husband and wife? Some families have left the area, such as Phillip Loopy, who lived right behind the cemetery and moved to Florida years ago. He contacted Darius News concerned that his family's plots were damaged. They were spared. However, what will happen to them years from now? What will happen to his grandparents, Nancy and Salvatore La-Tay-Ano? Here's Salvatore La-Tay-Ano on the right with his brother John La-Tay-Ano. Lupi says he came to the United States from Rontandella, Italy, around 1909. John was in World War I and became a U.S. citizen while in service. Here's John in uniform. Among others are World War II Navy vet Gaetano Thomas La-Tay-Ano and Rose and James Sottarelli, who was a North Bergen detective. Here's Tom with his sister Carmela La-Tay-Ano. She's Lupi's mom, who is now 89 years old and living in Florida. What will happen to them? And the others? According to a phone interview with the State Attorney General's office and a subsequent email to Darius News, quote, North Bergen Township have contacted the New Jersey Cemetery Board regarding the removal of trees at Weehawken Cemetery. The board is looking into the matter and will take appropriate action if necessary. As for the law protecting graves, the AG's office referred Darius News to these 2 sets of links. One is, quote, the law on inalienability of interment spaces. It provides the limited situation in which human remains may be removed from an interment space. And also, quote, a law that deals with transfer of interment spaces. And that law recognizes that ownership of a grave or crypt can be transferred after human remains are buried in the grave or crypt under limited circumstances. Meanwhile, the Hudson, Essex, Passaic Soil Conservation District is also part of the equation. Via email on Friday, they said, in part, I have been informed the design engineer is working on the soil erosion and sediment control plan to be submitted. As of now, the stop work order stands and the additional erosion control measures need to be installed. I am waiting the soil erosion and sediment application package that needs to be submitted. Darius News requested an interview with cemetery officials. So far, there's no reply. Reporting from North Bergen, Caesar Darius.